Oh, siyaphila ndaba omkhulu akabi khona. Inkosi njani namhlanje?
Hayi ngiyaphila mhlalo umkhuhlane.
Hayi bengcono inkosi man.
Soza kakhona.
Yabulela usibulise nesizwe sonke sikacebe kuwe.
Ngilapha eKapa mhlempela.
Oh, useKapa ndaba zethu. Oh,
usezizweni.
Manyamza.
Shabase.
Unjani namhlanje?
Yaphila tata ngosu njani wena?
Yaphila nathi mahade makabe khona. Ndithi mandikhangele if there's any apologies.
Apology vela kumamumbatha chair. Minister was attending a meeting with the traditional leaders in the Northwest. Yeah, that's all, Chair. I've seen the apology from DM Chapa, Chair, as well.
Oh.
Thank you, Chair.
Mam KK.
Morning, Chair.
Ninjani namhlanje?
Siphilile tata Khondo ninjani?
Siyaphila nathi kabi khona.
Ustad.
Any apologies?
Azikho ziphelele
kuzikamamnyama.
Masibude.
Honorable members, let us send our greetings to everyone who's been able to join us on the platform. Good morning, Goeiemorgen, Sanbonani, Molweni, Dumelang, Nda. Let us, honorable members, as we begin our meeting
Recording
today,
in progress.
Acknowledge with deep sadness and sorrow of the learning of the sudden passing of Inkosi Ngangomhlaba Matanzi. Our thoughts as the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development are with his family and the Abatembu Nation in this time of bereavement. You would recall Nkosi Ngangomhlaba was a repository of traditional knowledge, family genealogy, and history of Abatembu. During the last oversight visit of the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development to the area of Guadua, his encyclopedic knowledge of the area of Western Tembuland provided valuable insight into the history and the struggles of the area. Nkosi Ngangomhlaba will be solemnly missed by his family, friends, and all who knew him. We are poorer for his loss, and the traditional knowledge which he imparted is a valued contribution to our oral history. We say to him, may his soul rest in peace. Honorable members, let us take this moment in his honor to have a moment of silence together with all those who have lost their loved ones during this COVID pandemic. Thank you, honorable members. Today's proceeding, as the Portfolio Committee is considering a report from the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development on the Auditor-General of South Africa's first and second special report on financial management of government's COVID-19 initiatives, which were referred to the committee by the National Assembly. We are particularly concerned, honorable members, with the responses to the findings and recommendations of the Auditor-General. In keeping with the National Assembly's role of ensuring accountability of the executive, we are even more concerned with how the department has implemented the recommendations of the Auditor-General of South Africa. We are, honorable members, of the opinion that this briefing should help us produce a credible report to the National Assembly when required to. Having reviewed the PowerPoint slides initially submitted to the committee on a Friday evening by the Department of Agriculture, Rural Development and Land Reform and Rural Development, I was not satisfied, honorable members, with the report because it failed to respond to the issues that the committee had requested from the department to consider. Of great concern to us was that it was a cut and paste of the Auditor-General's first special report without addressing the implementation progress, especially as it related to the second special report. Honorable members, I have noted that there is a revised presentation, which I am hopeful that it will demonstrate the extent to which all the recommendations of the Auditor-General in both reports have been implemented. Honorable members, we know that the Auditor-General of South Africa is a Chapter 9 institution whose recommendations cannot just be ignored. One would be giving special attention to very specific recommendations to the department and a detailed implementation report, reports which are not general statements. For example, status quo on accounting offices' commitment to institute investigations on specific matters. To specifics such as the 113 applicants who were approved for farmers' relief but are employed by an organ of state. 3, approved applications from the applicants also receiving support from other government programs, which is about 1,832 applicants, and the department's programs, which is about 148 applicants from both CASP and Program 3 of the department. Honorable members, I expect the report to consider corrective or remedial action as recommended by the Auditor-General and specifically present a precise and clear-cut implementation report. In the same spirit, honorable members, of accountability, we want to express our displeasure with regards to failure of the department to honor commitments to the committee. We appeal to the Honorable Minister, the Executive, and the department to begin to take the committee seriously. During a concluding session of the oversight visit to Guadua, the Director General, Dr. Ramasodi, made a commitment to submit a report including realistic plan about interventions to be made at Guadua within 7 days. Similar, COGTA made an undertaking to submit a report regarding their area of focus. We expect, honorable members, we expected the reports by the 15th of February 2022. To date, the Secretariat of the committee has not been able to receive any reports, and it means that this committee will be delayed to table its report to the National Assembly. We would therefore, honorable members, like the Director General to appraise us of the reasons of the delays. We know that there are other reports that this committee was promised and it is yet to receive them. And this we will deal with at an appropriate time. Let us, therefore, at this juncture, honorable members, invite the officials of the department as led by the Honorable DG Ntate Romasodi to take us through the presentation. Thank you.
Chairperson, members of the Portfolio Committee, my colleagues, I greet you. Mr. Ramasodi is in the platform, but he just indicated to me he's struggling to connect properly in order to be able to communicate properly into the platform. I'm not sure whether he's able to do that now. If he is, then I just thought I should alert the chair of the challenge of his challenges regarding connection.
No, that's fine. You may proceed, Ntate Dove, if the DGs are experiencing challenges. Please proceed.
Thank you so much. I want to respond with regard to issues that we have raised regarding what the DG is supposed to respond. I believe we will be able to do that once you get connected. I will only focus on the issue of the report that is supposed to be served before the committee. Indeed, we have submitted a revised report. There was an omission on our side because we actually focused only on the first report of the AGSA without considering the second report, and we only discovered that over the weekend. And we immediately started to work on it, and hence it was submitted late, although we also received the letter requesting the report to be revised. So we are going to present the revised report, which covers both the first and the second findings from the AGSA. Some of them, you realize that they are similar. So we tried not to duplicate things that are almost the same, but made sure that actually the first one, the second report is properly covered, and pick all other things that were not covered in the second report from the first report and included them in this revised report. I'll therefore request Mr. Shilote to make that presentation on behalf of the department. Mr. Shilote.
Good morning, Chairperson, Honorable Chairperson, and members of this August committee, DG, and colleagues Good morning. I just want to check if the presentation is visible.
It is visible on my side. I'm not sure whether members are able to see it.
Honorable Chair, is the presentation visible on your side?
Yes, we can see it. Thank you.
We can see the report.
Yes, you can see the report, but if you can enlarge it so that we see the slides, not the rest of the computer.
Just put it on the slideshow, Mr. Schlotter.
Okay. Okay, I take it is visible now. It's on slideshow.
Chair, point of order. Chair.
Yes, Honorable Ntate Masipa, please proceed.
Chair, I see Ndate Ramasodi is on the platform. I think there was a question about his availability. He is on the platform.
Yes, I just saw him log in, and I'm taking it that he will be briefed by the officials of the department as to what we have been able to raise. And perhaps by the time they have finished with the presentation, we will have the DG as per norm putting remarks and then delegating to everyone. Thank you. Let's proceed.
Okay, no, thank you very much.
DG,
Chair.
welcome to the platform. Let's proceed. Sito.
Okay, thank you very much, Chairperson. The presentation, as indicated by Mr. Ndove, addresses both the first and second AGSA reports on COVID-19 relief to small-scale farmers. It must be stressed that the second AGSA report reflects in part a follow-up on the first report. There is therefore to a significant extent an interchangeability of findings between the first and second reports. This has been accommodated in our categorization of the AGSA findings, both first and second reports, and relevant responses thereto. The first finding that we are responding to is about the ants who are employed by state organs. In terms of the recommendation from the AG, the department was supposed to investigate all approved applicants who are employed by organs of state and ensure that they qualify for the relief provided. If they do not qualify, the department should cancel or withdraw the vouchers that have already been issued and recover any monies for vouchers that have already been redeemed, taking into account the legal implications. In terms of our progress, the investigations are substantially completed. The recovery processes have been initiated and are ongoing. Debtors accounts, where applicable, have been created. In this case, we have approached those employees of the state to make sure that they complete the necessary forms for us to be able to deduct the money that they owe to the state, and that work is ongoing. And what is important to note, Honorable Chair and committee members, is that in the recent regularity audit by the AGSA, no material findings in relation to this matter of applicants who are employed by organs of the state was raised by the AG. So we have made significant progress in terms of ensuring that we implement that which the AG has recommended to recover the monies from state employees. The second finding that we are responding to is approved applicants also receiving support from other government programs. The AG recommended that the department should investigate all approved beneficiaries receiving support through other government programs and ensure that they comply with Departmental Circular number 30 of 2020. And department should implement measures to recover the value of the support provided from applicants who have already redeemed their vouchers and to withdraw vouchers that have already been issued, taking into account the legal implications. And our response in terms of progress is that investigations have been substantially completed. The recovery processes have been initiated and are ongoing. Like I've indicated in the previous one, debtors accounts have been created. People are paying back the money. And also significantly is that in the recent regularity audit by the AG on the department, no material finding in relation to these matters were raised. The third finding that we are responding to is on approved applicants also receiving support from other departmental programs. That these are programs of our department, not government programs in general. AG recommended that management should ensure compliance with Departmental Circular 30 of 2020, which stated that applicants who are currently receiving support through other government programs, which included programs by the department and its entities, are excluded. And the department should implement measures to recover the value of the support provided from beneficiaries who have already redeemed their vouchers and to withdraw vouchers that have already been issued. And our response is that the investigations are substantially completed and the process of recovering has been initiated and is ongoing. Debtors accounts where applicable have been created, and in terms of the AG's recent audit on the department, no material findings were raised in relation to these matters, which to us demonstrates that we have tried our best to comply with that which the AG had raised on these matters. The fourth one is that there's no evidence that applications were received before closing dates. The recommendation by the AG was that when evaluating applications, the department should consider whether the application was submitted before, the stipulated closing date, and reject any applications received after the closing date. Where a late application was approved and voucher issued, the department should consider investigating the approval and taking appropriate steps. Our response and progress was that we disagreed with the finding. It is, however, noted that AGSA alludes to manual registers in this finding. In this regard, the risks relating to manual registers in particular have been addressed through the automation of the processes for all future initiatives as evidenced with the implementation of the Presidential Employment Stimulus Initiative, commonly known as PESI. And I think just to add on this one, Chair, it should also be noted that when these applications were submitted, we were at level 5 of lockdown. And, officials went out of their way to make sure that they go and assist community members and even bring the applications back to the department so that we can reach as many people as possible. So, but we acknowledge that, a manual process is prone to, other shortcomings. Hence, the department has learned from this COVID-19 relief program or project and has implemented automation in order to deal with similar initiatives going forward. The fifth finding is the incorrect applicant scoring. AG recommended that management should review all applications and ensure that they comply with the set criteria. The department should investigate payments that were made to applicants who do not qualify for the grant and explore the possibility of recovering the money paid, taking into account the legal implications. Our response is that all applications received have been reviewed, and where necessary, additional verification has been done through an electronic system called Survey 123. And if the chairperson allows me, I'll show you an example of how that system, captures information at the end of my presentation. These discrepancies arose from the use of manual processes. All initiatives going forward have been automated, as we've indicated in terms of the PESI. We are moving towards a end-to-end process that eliminates, human error. So that's what has been done so far. But we have verified the applicants and their farming operations physically on the ground in order to ensure that we align the scoring and the evidence that we are finding on the ground. The sixth one is inconsistent method or process used to calculate assistance to farmers. The AG recommended that the department should communicate clear guidelines to all provinces in a timely manner to ensure calculations are consistently applied for assistance to small-scale and communal farmers when similar support programs are implemented in future. The department should investigate the method of calculations and the assumptions each province used to ensure that a fair and consistent approach was used for the support provided to small-scale and communal farmers throughout the country. If some farmers were disadvantaged by the process, the department should follow up and rectify this. Our response is that all applications received have been reviewed, and where necessary, additional verification has been done through the electronic system called Survey 123, and the discrepancies arose from manual processes, and all initiatives going forward have been automated. And in automation, we've made sure that the formula are loaded on the system so that whoever punches in the information, the system itself will be able to calculate what a level of support a farmer would receive. So this, in a way, tries to eliminate the human error as well as, subjective application of calculations. So the calculations have been standardized and they've been loaded on the system, the automated system. And that is why in the PESI, people just submitted applications and the system started, processing those applications because the formulae were loaded on the system. The seventh finding is that payments were not verified at national office. Recommendation by AG was that national office financial officials should verify and sign payment batches from provincial offices before payments are released to prevent invalid or fraudulent payments from being made. The department should implement a record management and reconciliation process that would enable adequate tracking and control of the payments in the system. Without an adequate record management system and reconciliation process, there is a risk that invalid, fraudulent, or duplicate payments might be made. Our response is that all payments have been verified and are supported by evidence. In addition, all payments have been captured. In this regard, the AGSA has not raised any findings relating to these matters as per the recently completed regularity audit on the department. And maybe just to also add here, Chairperson, is that we should all remember that when we implemented this scheme, we're at level 5 lockdown, and also the AG was auditing the project whilst it was being implemented. So some of the processes at the time when they were auditing were not yet completed. But we are confident that in the recent audit by the AG, they were able to clear, most of the findings. That is why there were no material issues raised, because we had completed the process and all necessary supporting documents were available at that time. The eighth finding is that paid transactions are not recorded in accounting system. AG recommended that the agricultural land holding account should record transactions in the accounting system in a timely manner and update the general ledger account, accordingly. This will allow for timely reconciliation of the paid for transactions with a bank statement. Any reconciling items, whether errors or potential fraud, can then be followed up and attended to. Management response is that all payments have been verified and are supported by evidence. In addition, all payments have been captured. In this regard, the AGSA has not raised any findings relating to these matters as per the recently completed regularity audit. And as I've indicated, Chair and honorable members, that the project was being audited whilst it was still being implemented, and some of the processes at the time of that audit were not yet completed. But we took cue from what the AG had raised and made sure that by the time the project is completed, all the necessary recommendations were implemented, and that is why there were no material findings by the AGSA when they audited the department recently. The ninth finding is that payments made to suppliers there were payments made to suppliers without detailed invoices. AG recommended that the agricultural land holding account should review the invoices received to ensure that they provide the details of the commodities redeemed by the farmers and should assess the prices charged for reasonability. For all the invoices where payment has already been made, the department should ask suppliers to provide detailed invoices or receipts that include the relevant commodity descriptions and prices. The response is that all payments have been verified and are supported by evidence. In addition, all payments have been captured. In this regard, AG has not raised any findings relating to these matters as per the recently completed regularity audit. It must also be noted that payments processed without commodities relate to one province with an insubstantive number of suppliers. The next finding is that there was inadequate oversight by department officials. AG recommended that the department should perform adequate site visits to verify the accuracy of information on the application form, such as the type of farming activities, the size of the land, the number of livestock, etc. This will ensure that the commodities were received and used for approved farming activities, which will result in the objectives of this initiative being achieved. The response is that the department constituted a team with provincial departments of agriculture and deployed officials to conduct physical verifications as per recommendation by AGSA. All physical verifications have been completed. And as I've indicated, Chair, at the end of the presentation, I'll show you the kind of information that was captured during these physical verifications on the ground. The next one is that commodities bought were unrelated to farming activities approved. AG recommended that management should perform oversight to ensure that the necessary farm visits are conducted to verify the information indicated on the application form, such as the type of farming activities and the size of the land. And our response is that the department constituted a team with provincial departments of agriculture, and as indicated, we deployed officials to conduct physical verifications as per recommendation, and the verifications have been completed. The next one is that suppliers' tax compliance status were not confirmed or was not confirmed. The AG recommended that management should develop a compliance checklist to be completed for every procurement. The department should not be doing business with suppliers that are not in good standing with the South African Revenue Services. The response is that the department verified compliance during the bid evaluation and adjudication process and appointed suppliers that were in good standing with the South African Revenue Services. According to the applicable National Treasury instruction, non-compliant suppliers may be given 7 working days to correct their taxes before award of the bid. Those who did not comply were disqualified. So what is important here, Chair, to note is that at the time of the bid evaluation and adjudication, suppliers that were compliant were appointed. However, it should be noted that in the intervening period, there could have been suppliers whose tax affairs would have rendered them non-compliant after the awarding of the bid. But the prescripts do not preclude such suppliers from continuing, offering that service up until the point of payment, where we would be expected to pay them, but because they would have rendered the service, and at the time of appointment, their tax affairs were in order. But also, as we've indicated, there is provision to give them 7 working days to correct their affairs. The 13th finding is the one of limitation of scope. AG recommendation was that management should ensure that there are adequate controls in place to collect, track, and provide the information requested, keep open communication where information is not available, and commit to a reasonable date to provide the information. The response is that for all initiatives going forward, adequate controls have been implemented through the automation of processes as evidenced by PESI. Here we're talking about an end-to-end automated process. And as I've indicated, when we implemented the COVID relief, we're at level 5 lockdown, and we were implementing a manual process where documents have to move from municipal level to district offices and to province and to national. So there was a lot of papers that had to be made available, and sometimes they were made available after the time frame that would have been set by the AG. So, but as a department, we've learned from that, and that is why we immediately embarked upon developing an automated process to make sure that in future we do not have these kinds of challenges. Number 14 is that there was inadequate distribution of cloth, face masks, and hygiene soaps. AG recommendation is that management should follow up to ensure that all goods and services paid for are received and provided to the intended beneficiaries. Management should also implement a document management system for each directorate to ensure the information and documents are filed in an easily retrievable manner and can be submitted for audit without significant delays. Our response is that for all initiatives going forward, adequate controls have been implemented through the automation of processes such as evidenced by in the PESI program. Here we're trying to eliminate the issue of human error, but also improving record keeping, because documents are uploaded on the system, and as and when anyone requires those documents, like the AGSA, we will be able to just at a click of a button provide those documents, and even to grant them access to the system to view whatever documentation and information is contained in the system. Number 15 is that there was inadequate supplier selection process. AG recommended that management should follow up to ensure that all goods and services paid for are received and provided to the intended beneficiaries. Management should also implement a document management system for each directorate to ensure that information and documents are filed in an easily retrievable manner and can be submitted for audit without significant delays. The response is that management has performed an analysis into this issue. The analysis has confirmed that there is a control framework in place governing compliance with other procurement regulations, even when there are deviations from the competitive bidding process. It should be stressed that the Farmer Relief Fund was meant to assist qualifying farmers during the state of national disaster. The accounting officer of the department approved deviation in terms of emergency, and some source suppliers in line with instruction note 3 of 2016 to 2017, paragraph 8, and approved deviation of classification circular 21 of 2018. The accounting officer approved deviations on the 5th of May 2020 and signed off on the report to National Treasury for their support on the same day. My apology, Chair. I don't know why there are people clapping in the background. Number 16 finding is that the approved applicants, there were approved applicants with invalid identity numbers. The AG recommended vouchers issued to non-South African citizens The department should investigate possible fraudulent activities while cancelling vouchers and recover for vouchers issued. These discrepancies were subjected to investigation, Chair, and based on the outcome of the investigation, recoveries have been initiated or vouchers have been cancelled. I recall one case, and because there were not many non-South Africans who featured in the approved applicants. I think there were about 3 or 4. And I recall one case in Western Cape where we had to immediately, visit the applicant, and we found that he had already purchased some of the farming inputs, and we advised him to hold and not, apply them until we had sought a legal opinion, and the opinion came and confirmed that we cannot, allow such people to benefit. And we subsequently went and collected the, those inputs. Our Western Cape office went and collected them. So investigations were done and recoveries have been initiated. In conclusion, Chairperson, the department has followed a two-pronged approach in addressing the AGSA's findings. Firstly, the department performed a retrospective analysis on the discrepancies raised and effected corrective measures. This retrospective analysis has yielded positive results, as evidenced by the AGSA's regularity audit outcome, which has not found any material issues around all these issues that were raised during the audit of the COVID-19 relief fund. Secondly, from a forward-looking perspective, the department has adopted automated processes to implement similar initiatives going forward. These automated processes have resulted in a significant improvement in the adequacy of controls and by implication, the integrity of information and data. Basically, Chair, we learned a lot out of the AGSA's findings, and we have since done our best to improve and implement what the AGSA has recommended. And I mean, we were going through a very difficult phase of a pandemic, and in that process, a lot of officials lost their lives, but those who were there, the coalface, tried their best to deliver, to make sure that the ordinary South Africans are assisted, and lessons have been learned from this project, and that is why we are improving by moving to an automated system to avoid, the pitfalls that were picked up during this one. So thank you very much, Chairperson. I just want to show you an example of this physical verification that was conducted using a system called Survey 123. Yeah.
You done, Dr. Shilot?
Not yet, Chair. I just wanted to show you.
Show us the example sample.
Yes, the example of the system. This is
Please proceed.
Oh, thank you, Chair. This is how the system captures the information. As you can see, it's a geo-referenced system where we go on the ground. It shows the map of the aerial photo of the area where the physical verification is conducted. We even have the coordinates which show where exactly this was done in Free State, Mangaung, Tabanchu, as an example. And the officials also sign the officials sign to show that they were there, and also the applicant also signed to show that indeed this verification happened. The system also uploads a copy of their ID so that we can verify that indeed these are people who are alive and so on. And it also allows us to take pictures of the farming operations. As you can see here, they had planted maize, and they also have some livestock which they are keeping. So this work was undertaken by the department at the national level together with the provincial departments of agriculture using extension officers. And we have verified all the applicants that were approved for support so that we can have evidence and records, in our possession. Thank you very much, Chair. I think I'll end here, and I don't know if DG would want to make additions, and also DG Ndove. Thank you very much, Chair.
From my side, thank you, Mr. Schlotter, and thanks, Chair. From my side, I don't have any addition. It looks like DG has managed to connect. I'm not sure whether he's able to hear us now, whether he has got something to add before handing back to the Chair. DG, are you there? It looks like
perhaps before the DG comes in, is just to share the sentiments that were put in our opening remarks, DG, which I expressed our displeasure as a portfolio committee with regards to the failure of the department in honoring the commitments which it has made to the portfolio committee. We therefore appealed to the department to begin to taking our work very seriously as a committee. I came to highlight that during our oversight visit in Guadua, there were certain commitments that were made in ensuring that the department would submit a report directly to the committee through our secretariat, on which included a realistic plan. And we are still haven't received that plan, which the DG said would be sent to us within 7 days. But also we gave COGTA a deadline to make submissions to the committee in terms of what we had requested during our deliberation. And that also still hasn't been honored. In terms of the reports, we had given the deadline to be the 18th. I know earlier I said the 15th, but I remember it was the 18th, being a Friday at noon. We asked that the committee should be given the reports that we asked for no later than no later than the 18th of February. Particularly the reports that have to do with our tabling of our oversight report to the National Assembly. This DG is beginning to cause unnecessary delays on the portfolio committee for us to be able to table our report to the National Assembly. And these are the issues that I raised and would like responses to in your brief. Over to you, Ndate Ramasodi, the DG of the Department of Agricultural and Reform and Rural Development. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. I hope that you can hear me. My apologies. I have got a challenge. I'm in between Lichtenberg and Mafeking, and the coverage here is a little bit on 3 networks that I have. I've tried on the 3 networks, and I've tried to move around, and at this moment I'm very close to Mahikeng town, just to get where I can get a better signal. Chair, I've listened carefully to the issues that Chair had raised, and I would like to really respond on all of those. The first one, I would like to apologize, Chair, for the report, the initial report that was submitted on the responses that we gave to the AG. I think the report itself, when I realized that it was on a Sunday, I realized that the report had no issues that we had to deal with that would have covered the engagements, specifically around the 14 areas that were covered in the second report that the deliberations were. Chair, if you don't mind, I'll switch off the camera so that I can be captured clearly. The report then was revised, Chair, and I saw Chair's letter, and I wanted just to have a replacement once I had a new report that would have been coming through to the portfolio committee. We apologize for that. In terms of the report itself, covering various aspects, I think the critical area that we thought was very important for us was to clearly outline how we have responded to the AG, specifically on the issues that were raised on how we could have improved systems. And I think to a great extent, Chairperson and honorable members, we have used the areas that we had shortcomings in the first COVID-19 intervention to be the way that we have dealt with the PACE engagement. And I think that the tools that we are currently having are a great improvement in terms of how we implement systems in the department. The second issue that was of importance that the chair had raised was the Guadua issue. And I have got to say and make this admission that we may be having capacity issues, but I would not even burden the portfolio committee with the issues. Those are disciplinary issues that I'm currently dealing with in the department, because the report that was sent through and to be shared with the portfolio committee was a report that had a presentation on. And I had indicated that we cannot be presenting to the portfolio committee a presentation. We need a full sussed out report that clearly reflects the issues that we had committed to short, medium, and long term, even including how we are going to engage with the provincial counterparts in dealing with the issues that are here. I had since received, Chair, a full report that dealt with the labor, the labor tenants writing, the rights inquiry, the land right inquiry report. I've received that, and I have since sent it through to the parliamentary officer in the department to forward to the committee. And I will be today, just after 2, be sending you the report on Guadua. Unfortunately, Chair, I have got to go through each and every report to ensure that it is a report that can be forwarded to the portfolio committee. The issues around the quality of documents is what we assist with, Chairperson, and it's really regrettable, but it's issues that we have got to deal with. Issues that we have got to address within the department, because it's highly unacceptable that the portfolio committee and the honorable members would be waiting for the department to give a document, and that document at times has got to go through reiterative issues in terms of hands to be finalized. So, Chair, in terms of Guadua, the land rights inquiry document, is currently on its route to you, finalized from my side. The report in terms of the plan, reflecting the short, medium, and long-term interventions that we'll have on Guadua, will be with the committee at 2 o'clock today. Highly regrettable that we had to get here. But what we have done in terms of the engagements, because that area would have needed to have a DDG who's responsible for that. The DDG is taking responsibility from today to run the area, and we hope that we will be able to deal with the issue around the provincial shared services centers in our midst, Chair. I think I would have covered the issues that Chair had raised. Thank you very much, Chair and committee members, and apologies once more on this issue that we assist with to correct, especially the timely responses and also the quality of the reporting. Thank you.
Thank you, Ntate Ramasodi, DG to the Department of Agricultural and Reform and Rural Development. Honorable members, there is the presentation from the department. We will now open the session to questions of clarity or comments on the presentation. Honorable Klabe.
Thanks, Honorable Chair. I'm just struggling also. I don't know if the video will sustain me. And my network is so unstable here. But Chair, let me go to the presentation. You have alluded to issues of concern. Just to say to the department chair, the presentation for me is more of a compliance presentation. It lacks specifics, Chair, based on the findings and the recommendations. Why I say it lacks, for me, it's a bit vague, not a bit vague, it's vague. For an example, Chair, if you look into all those concerns, let's start with the approved applicants, 3 categories. Those that works for organs of state, those that has received assistance from other departments, and even those that has received assistance from other programs within the departments. It's just one and the same responses. There's no specifics in terms of how many, in terms of where this has happened, who are these applicants. I would expect to get a thing that says to us in Northwest, there were so many, in Eastern Cape, there were so many, or these are employees within provincial departments of agriculture, or just that, or this is a number, and the value, even on other issues where they talk about vouchers, there's no value of recoveries, there's no value of the vouchers that has been cancelled. There's no value of any withdrawals, for how many have been withdrawn. Hence, I'm saying it lacks specifics in the main. Now, when you look into the issue number 4, no evidence that applications were received before closing date. The department is also disagreeing with the AG, but they don't say there were no applicants that were received before the closing date. Instead, they go at length to say it might have been due to manual registration, because AG is saying this shouldn't have happened. You should have or rejected such applicants. We don't get an indication if there are any that has been rejected because they came before after the closing date. Incorrect application scoring also. Even if they talk about PESI being the thing, they are talking about future to say this happens, the auditing happens whilst implementation was taking place. And I'm sitting here and asking myself, or if Auditor-General has audited this because almost everything is said there were no material, nothing material findings done by the AG. I'm just wondering, in the next year when AG audits, what will be the response of AG? And thinking, I think at some stage, Chair, we will have to get AG's version on this one, because it's like it is done also in the future for the future, but because AG couldn't pick anything, then it's okay. Hence, I'm saying for me, it's a bit vague, it lacks specifics, and these are very key issues that we would need to get into, especially on the public interest on matters of COVID-19 initiatives and financial management there. Chair, when you talk about physical verification, the department also is not saying to us how many physical verifications they have done in the provinces. A team was made with provinces, physical verification done and everything. And this was during COVID as everything happened. Can they just categorize all this and give us specifics so that we are able to know for how many this happened and where are they still lacking? The most interesting one, Chair, for me was this 1 year applications, approved applicants with invalid identity numbers. How many? The value? Tata Shilote can only remember one in the Western Cape. And they are saying on that sentence, recoveries has been initiated or cancellations done. Or are there any cancellations? Are there any recoveries? To what value? So even when you go to the distribution of the cloth masks and hygiene soaps, how many these were not received? To what value? It is just a vague response that we receive in here. My last question, my last comment here will be on this thing that Percy at least is assisting them. Automation has been done. I would want to, for sure, out of this presentation, just raise the concern here, Percy. I know that we will still have report on this one, but we know that the process has been put on hold because of the discrepancies on suppliers or your middlemen, for lack of better word. But besides all this, Chair, I will be watching the report that will be coming because social media across South Africa, people were very disgruntled to say this was a centralized kind of number, automated, good enough, but the minute you press and you want to apply, it said we have reached the maximum limit. And I was thinking about the quota probably for your people with disabilities, women and youth, even across provinces, because this was like a centralized number. So how many people have they reached? Or people were able across all provinces to access? But that is a discussion for another day. And I'm saying because it is something that is being put all in motion now, it cannot all be glorified at this point in time and saying all is good, because as we have seen with the implementation of presidential economic stimulus initiative. But in all fairness, Chair, I take this with a pinch of salt because of lack of specifics, because of the vagueness, and if we had all the time to ourselves, it would be better even to hear the version of the AG on this. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kape. Honorable Steyn, good morning.
Morning, Chairperson. Chairperson, yes, I totally agree with everything that Honorable Klape said. I'm not going to repeat all the issues regarding vagueness and everything that she said. Chairperson, in Afrikaans, we have a word, I don't know what would be the English word or a Xhosa version of the same word, but it says niks zeggen. There's nothing in there. If we have to go and report to Parliament, and I never mind to Parliament, to the South Africans, and tell them the department says everything's fixed. They now have an automated or a system where they put this on. They're going to laugh at us, Chairperson. So, Chair, I would like to make 3 solid proposals. The first one is that we call the Minister to account. I am really disappointed that the Minister is not here today when we deal with this report. Chair, I was looking actually and listening the news last week when the Minister was in the meeting the whole day when we met with the Department of Environment. But when we have our own portfolio meetings, the Minister, when she's present, will come in, do her opening remarks and leave. So, Chair, the Minister must come and account for this report today and what is going on. Secondly, I would also like to think, Chair, that we try our utmost best to move back to in-person meetings if possible. I know about the challenges about Parliament and what is happening. I also know that there are some other portfolios, Chairperson, that is trying and already meeting in person. It is very, very frustrating, and I understand, Honourable Ramasori, not Honourable Ramasori, Mr. Ramasori, that you tried to lock in, but last week, Friday, was a disaster when we tried to deal with the entities, with people on and off, even ourselves, all of us in rural areas having challenges, to sometimes being locked off or can't see or cannot properly listen to presentation. So, Chairperson, and then I agree that we get the side of the Auditor-General, because if you look at the report from the Auditor-General and what was reported today, it looks like we're discussing 2 different issues. So, Chair, my questions to the department on this niksagende presentation today is if they can give us details today. Who of the DDGs was responsible for this program? What was the exact what is the correct word, guidelines that were sent to the provinces when these vouchers were submitted? Whether any officials were investigated for this matter, like the Auditor-General proposed, and if yes, how many, who were they, and what were the findings? I see the presentation says the vouchers were recovered, or some monies were recovered. How was it done? What was the exact details of how it was done? And then linked to that, did we follow up with all the service providers to see that some of the people, because in my mind, Chair, I can't see how you can do it. A person received a voucher. I took that voucher to a service provider and I got the the supplies. And there was one mention made of a person in the Western Cape. What about the others? How do you recover something that if I took that money or the voucher, I got the supplies and then I used it? How was it recovered? We need that details. We need exact details of how it worked. Then, was all suppliers paid? Because one of the findings of the Auditor-General, or something that was written, and if it's not in the Auditor-General's report, it is what we saw in responses from farmers, is that there was no way I could make a copy or 10 copies and give to each other one of my friends, and we could all go to the supplier. So there was no way of keeping records of that. How was that issue managed? So the voucher system, say, for instance, was 700 million rand, but how much was paid out by the suppliers and how much did the department pay to the suppliers? We need exact details. And then, Chairperson, details on how the team of the provincial department did the physical verifications. When was it done? Who did it? And who from national department monitored that? So I'm coming back to my exact first question. Who of the DDGs or the national officials was responsible for the rollout of this program? Thank you, Chair. I'm not a happy chappy.
Thank you, Honorable Spain. I'm certain the DG and officials of the department will make you a happy chappy in their responses. Honorable Ntate Matiase. Dumela Ntate Matiase.
Goeiemôre Arbare voorsitter.
Hoe gaan dit?
Dit gaan goed meneer, ons kan nie plan nie. Dus daar iets wat ek sal sê daar in verband met die geselskap.
Now you've totally lost the chair. I
Stel
found
belang
one
met die-
thing.
You were trying your luck. Hey,
Yeah,
not with my chairperson.
Go ahead.
Ek vra is daar iets wat ek sal kan sê in verband met die geselskap. Dis 'n vraag voorsitter.
Now you may proceed and ask your questions, Honorable Matias.
Nee, ek stel net belang met die spreker.
Because we don't have an interpreter on the system, we'd be happy that you stick to English. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much, Honorable Chair. Well, I was asking if there's anything that one can add in the discussions other than to agree with the previous speakers who expressed, just as the chairperson has done at the beginning of the meeting, displeasure with what the DG describes as a poor quality of the report. And the moment that the DG said he apologizes for the quality of the report, which in his own words described as poor, it is at that point where the meeting should have said, we are sending you backpacking. We are sending you backpacking, go and prepare a report proper fitting for the portfolio committee. And I think that's what we need to call for, than to entertain a non-report. What we are entertaining is a non-report. I agree with members that at some point that the minister must be called to appear. But what is the point of entertaining a non-report? What is the point of entertaining what the DG himself describes as the quality of which is poor? Honorable Chair, the day that we send the officials packing back to go and do their work and not entertained the nonsensical report that they pretend to present as if they are doing something, that's the day that officials will take this committee seriously. There's no report that we should be sitting here and entertaining, Honorable Chair, with utmost due respect to yourself and honored members. Can please restore back the authority of the committee? Let's ensure that officials take the committee seriously, because we're not here for self-serving interests, but we're here to ensure that the committee does its work, officials are held accountable, and our people get the best of services from the department. So my proposal is, let's not accept this report, let's not debate it further. Let's insist on them that they must go back, prepare the report as per the commitments they made in the past, and the report should be in line with the guidelines and requirements consistent with that, and it's only then that they must be called back to report. Perhaps we must also give them a framework of about a week to go back, prepare a proper report. Otherwise, I move that this report should be rejected until such time that a proper report has been prepared by officials. Thanks, Honorable Chair.
Dankie agbare Matthias. Honorable Treader.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good morning to honorable members, members of the Portfolio Committee, and officials of the department. Chairperson, I'm seated here thinking about how do we begin to engage in a manner and in an expected way of making the department to be accountable. When we seek questions of clarities, Chair, as the committee, we are hoping to get answers so that we account to the South African citizens of each and every cent that is spent with Mali Abakhali. Now, Chair, as Speaker says, Tetile, there is absolutely nothing that we can hang on to kule presentation and say, this is what we can make the department account on. By this, Chair, I'm agreeing with the latter speakers that we need a detailed report so that nathi senze umsebenzi wethu. We are not a committee of ticking boxes. We are not here to just say we sat in a meeting and presentation was done. Next, we are talking about the money of South Africans. We are talking about services that are due to our people. When I'm saying our people, I say our people. We need to do what is right, Chair. When I'm saying we, us, the committee, including the department and its officials, I support, Chair, the comment by the latter speaker that seeks to say, can we allow the department to go back and craft a detailed report that is more standard say parliament, Chair, so that we can make people to be accountable and have clear understanding and information on what happened to this. For instance, Chair, kule presentation, there is Indo 80, there are about more than 100 beneficiaries as a receiver in EPC, but with invalid ID numbers. It doesn't matter how much that is, of 3,500, but it's a lot. It's rands and cents. How now, Chair? I'm asking myself, how far is the department in investigating those people? That how was that possible? If there was this system in place, how is it possible that there will be allocation of PSC vouchers to farmers that have invalid ID numbers? How do we know if they even exist, those farmers? We can't accept a report, Chair, without proper or detailed information about if there are elements of corruption there. What then needs to be done? Can we? I don't have much, Chair. There are lots of holes that we can punch in this report, but I would plead and also concur with the latter speakers that let's give the department a chance with a clear time frame to come back and report on this matter back to the committee chair with more details. Thank you. Mthembu, indambo zikuwe.
Nkosi kakhulu Mamthwethe. Can we move on, honorable members? The Honorable Mamu Babama.
Nkosi Chairperson, I will not take a lot of your time because I think what needs to be said has been said by my previous colleagues who spoke on the platform. I just want to say one or two things. And the first one is that each department must not come here and tell us that they have learned a lot from the AG's issues and from resolving or trying to resolve the AG's issues. It's not the first time that they're doing disaster management. They've been doing this for years. So seriously, by now, they should be able to disperse vouchers like these seamlessly. And I said in the last time I spoke on this platform, I said to Tate Ramasodi, you are going to have to crack the whip. And I'm still saying it. Otherwise, honestly, you will end up in hospital because you cannot check each and everything. You've got to depend. A leader is only as strong as the people around him. And if you don't make sure that the people around you are accountable, are responsible, then you are going to have a problem in running this department. So again, I'm saying to you, you will have to crack the whip. And another tip for the department, please submit a report that shows that you understand that you'll be presenting to reasonably intelligent people. I'll say reasonably intelligent people, because the report that you've given us with its copy and paste answers and repetitive answers really does not say much. So please, department, and I agree, Chair, let the department go back. Let's give them a time frame and let them come back and present to us physically, Stikwana Sonke, in the room. And maybe when they look us in the eye, they will have a guilty conscience. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Breed.
Dankie, voorsitter. Chairperson, I have to concur with my colleagues that spoke prior to me. I think this has not been the first time we've spoken about this. I think we are all frustrated, we are annoyed, and I know some of the issues are institutional, and the DG, when he took over, he had a flawed department. And I agree, and I remember Honorable Mbabama saying that, DG Ramasodi needs to crack the whip. But Chairperson, I'm really disappointed. The presenter said, we have learned a lot and we have done our best. Chairperson, with all due respect, I don't think they've learned a lot, and I do not think that they have done their best. Because if this is their best, then we are doomed. Then I can understand why we have a flawed voucher system, why we keep on asking and keep on asking and keep on asking, and the department keeps on falling short. Chairperson, and I even tried in my dictionary to find a proper English word for the word nikszeggend, but the only thing I can come up with is fluff. That is what this department is giving us, Chairperson. We have, how many times have this department, not just in terms of, as you yourself mentioned, Chair, the reports that have been outstanding, but how many times have we requested and asked this department to give us full details regarding this COVID-19 relief fund, regarding the specifics, regarding the people, the full details, the database of supported farmers, Chairperson. According to the first special audit report of this fund, the AGSA identified 861 applicants who did not meet the minimum criteria but were approved. And for 847 of these, there was no evidence of farming activities. The department very fluffily answers, we've investigated and it is handled. But we don't know what they investigated. We don't know what the outcome was, what they found, and how they have resolved it, Chairperson. We as a committee, and I have to agree with the prior speakers, Honorable Chete and Matthias and Babama, we cannot accept that. We cannot just sit here and go, baie dankie. We need to send them back. And if that requires an in-person meeting, then we need to do that. But Chairperson, I'm sorry to be, what's the proper word? To say that we will be disappointed again, because I don't think an in-person meeting is going to serve the problem. I don't think it's going to address it. I think we need to take steps. I think we need to interact, and us as a committee need to decide, and we need to call the minister, Chairperson. At the end of the day, she's the minister in charge of this department, and she needs to take responsibility. Chairperson, but not just that, 521 applicants who met the minimum criteria were rejected. Can we have a report? The AG said that there were anomalies and there needs to be consequence management. We have not heard, with all due respect, Chairperson, the consequence management or the investigations that have been reported. They need to indicate to us about these, and getting to these 847 applicants who did not prove applications, Chairperson, and with all due respect, I come from Mangaung, and I've been to Dubanshu. If you look at the geotagging, that first picture where it identifies where the farm is located or the activity is located, and you look at the three pictures at the bottom, Chairperson, with all due respect, you can't tell me, yes, that the coordinates might be the same, but that's very easy to copy and paste it. And I'm not insinuating anything, Chairperson, but me, who comes from the Free State, who comes from Mangaung, who knows Tabanshu, can see with my own eyes that where that geotag is and the pictures that prove the activity aren't the same place, Chairperson. Really, that is very easy. Dis oorverdoeselry, Chairperson, and I do not accept that. I do not accept that example. I think it was Honorable Chair that mentioned in terms of the system, Chairperson, and I have to say that is a matter of grave concern. Is the system, the way it's implemented. Chairperson, we speak about the standardizing of provinces, but I never get a clear indication of the monitoring and the evaluation that the national department is doing on the provinces, because I can promise you, we're going to call this department back, we're going to ask this, and then we're just going to hear that concurrency is the problem. That concurrency is the problem, and the provincial departments don't want to listen, and that they are being lied to. Chairperson, that is not acceptable. Investigations. We continually speak of investigations and there were consequences, but we never get clear. Finding number 15, they say has a control framework. The department has a control framework. But has this control framework been implemented in terms of the applying? We don't know that, Chair. The department doesn't tell us that. Are we supposed to, ek weet nie, ruik dit, smell that, Chairperson, really? Finding number 16, recoveries initiated. What were the recoveries initiated? I think Honourable Steyn said, we have given out vouchers. Now you're saying recoveries have been initiated. How did you go ask for the grain back? You know, pomp die bokse magies. What did we do? Really, Chairperson. Then in terms of the procurement of the PPE and the fact that there was a deviation process in terms of that. Once again, the department says that there was a deviation and that the AGSA said that they need to report to National Treasury and that they require that. Was the procurement deviation, has it been reported to National Treasury? Has it been referred to investigation? What has been the outcome of that investigation? Chairperson, I would like to know that. And then I think it was Honourable Steyn that spoke to the voucher systems. We all know that these vouchers were seasonal of nature. We all know farming is seasonal by nature. Can we get a breakdown, and do we know whether the vouchers that have not been redeemed are able to redeem, are the recipients, have they been able to redeem it? Because Chairperson, you will remember that first interaction session, I specifically made mention of an example in Limpopo where the voucher holders were turned away, that they were informed that that the cooperative does not know about these vouchers, that they do not have the necessary stocks, and that they will not be handing out the things for the that the vouchers requested them to, Chairperson. I want to know what happened in instances like that. How will the department ensure that the farmers use these vouchers and that they can use these vouchers for the following system, Chairperson? And Chairperson, maybe let me just leave it at that. But I think we really need an in-person session. I think we need to get full details on this. And I want to see, as other members have spoken, I want to see the proof that we have looked at these things, because I can tell you now that example that was used, Chairperson, is not correct. Chairperson, but let me leave it at that. Otherwise, I might just get a heart attack because I'm so upset with this department. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Honorable Mema Shati.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, and Department DG and his collective from the department. Hlalo, let me also join the chorus that says the presentation is not a good presentation. It doesn't speak to issues that we're expecting from the department, precisely because it doesn't, the responses of the department does not necessarily respond to issues that AG is speaking to. I agree with colleagues that says, let's take the presentation back, but it will be prudent that we don't just send them back, but we tell the department on which specific issues we would want them to improve, because we might end up with the same presentation if we don't do that. Firstly, Slalo, on the first audit outcome, as per the AG report, it speaks about the approved applicants employed by the state, like what Honorable Klappe has indicated in her input. There's no indication on, as per the response by the department, who are these people? Yes, we see the investigation is taking place, but it does not give us clear indication. The investigation is completed, but there are not clear status report about what happened to the 11 applicants who were approved for farmer relief whilst employed by government. What was the total value of vouchers and how much has been recovered to date? Any legal actions taken against the individuals or any disciplinary action taken against the officials? These are some of the information that we require. On the second one, Chair, that speaks about approved applicants also receiving support from other government programs. Equally, the response, like what Honorable Mbabama is indicating, is like cut and paste. The response is the same, but it does not go to the jigs of the issues, because we need to know if indeed the investigation is completed, why there's no status report about what happened as well. Equally, the total value of the vouchers, any legal actions, and disciplinary processes taking place. On the third one, Slalom, where we're speaking about approved applicants and so on, I would definitely, if this is going to take too long, I would definitely submit my inputs in writing to to your table, Chair. But what becomes critical to me as well is around issues relating to number 13, where we speak about limitation of scope. I always say, Chair, in audit terms, limitation of scope says there was no information. There was a request submitted by AG to the department, a request for information, and then the department could not respond. And that clearly tells you that there is something wrong. You know, any CFO of the department would get a headache when audit outcomes comes with a word limitation of scope, because it shows level of inappropriate, I don't know what would be the best word to use, but it shows the lowest level of accountability by officials or by government. Because in this instance, Chair, it means that when somebody gets a voucher, and that means department has no clue who the person is, where the voucher is, whether the voucher was given, because there is no trace of information in the department. Now the department says PERSI is the best system that can be. Has it been tested? Can we really quantify that PERSI is actually working? And that in the next audit outcomes, we will be able to rely on it scientifically. If the department can confirm that, I will be very happy. The last part, Chair, is around the two reports. Remember when AG audited, the first audit was around process. The second audit outcome report was about the financial element. Now, in this report, there's nothing that speaks about money, the value of the money, how much was, there's nothing on any financial implications. And it's a worrisome, it's a worrying factor. That is why it is important that they also put in all the responses, the value of money utilized, the value where there were discrepancies, issues of fraud, how much still need to be recovered, and where the amount, with the billions that has been given for this particular program, how much was spent adequately, how much is still under question, and how much it can be accounted for. If we can get that particular information, I'll be quite happy. The last part is on the general, how the presentation is done. In all honesty, Chair, it's quite disappointing. The level of response, the generalization of responses, it's like people want to be careful of, not to sound ambiguous and so on, so that in future when you ask questions, they are covered because there's generalization in J. I just want to appeal to colleagues in the department that we ought to professionalize government. And we want to believe that the people who have been appointed are equal to the task. But this type of presentation, they make us wonder. And we therefore request the department to do due diligence to the types of information that is sent to Parliament, because not only yourselves are presenting here, South Africans are listening. They would want to know there are those whose applications were not processed. They are watching as we speak to check what is it that the department is going to say. And with this type of responses, it's quite disappointing, Chair. I'll rest my case there, Scott. Thank you very much.
Case rested. Honorable Dabezita Nkosenkulu, the Honorable Baucebekulu.
Thank you, Chairperson. Greetings to you and all members of the Portfolio Committee. Chairperson, I think a lot has been said by the colleagues regarding the report, or the responses by the department on AG's findings. You know, Chairperson, what I sort of identified here was, firstly, is the fact that you know, this manually recording process that was followed. I wonder why did they have to go into that, knowing that the officials these days have electronic systems of doing government business or departmental business. It shows there were some intentions by some in order to sort of divert the whole intention of government to assist our small scale farmers as well as the communal farmers. There was an instance, Chairperson, where, you know, people were complaining, the beneficiaries were complaining that since the suppliers were identified, some the beneficiaries had to move or drive past the local co-ops to a very far supplier where they could be there as well, not allowed to take as much as the vouchers, the amounts on the vouchers allowed. These suppliers, I could call them, were part of soliciting some funds from these beneficiaries, which ended up not assisting actually the good intention of the department to having assisted the people who are badly affected during the COVID-19. You know, members have raised a lot, Chairperson. Those that have spoken before me have raised a lot concerning the whole report. I ended up saying to myself, obviously, there were ghost farmers who had to prop up in order to go and benefit. I can't imagine a person coming with a false ID number, and the officials could not identify that this person is bringing in a wrong or an unacceptable ID number. How far then would they have identified if that particular person could come in with a wrong, a false ID number and go to another supplier with the correct ID number to benefit? So that means this person might have benefited twice. With regards to what the Honorable Stein was saying, the issue of photocopying those vouchers, which might have allowed some to go and benefit in several sort of co-ops and these suppliers. Chairperson, really, it's very worrying to hear that the officials are only identifying one area in the Western Cape to say there was only one culprit there. I was just wishing if it could be possible that when they come back with the full report, they could as well identify how many per province who have benefited wrongly, who were part of sort of soliciting unnecessary funds unnecessarily when they actually did not qualify to benefit as the rightful persons to be assisted by the department. Let me end there, Chairperson, since all members have said a lot. Thank you.
Ndabezitha, Nkosi enkulu, siyathokoza. The Honorable Mahlo.
Honorable Chairperson, let me say good morning to you and to all my colleagues on the platform. Chairperson, let me take this opportunity and welcome the efforts of our officials who tried very hard to produce a wrong report to the Portfolio Committee of Parliament. We also, who are also not prepared to maintain the high standards of professionalism, ethics to be displayed to us as the Committee of Parliament, which need to be respected on a high note. To me, Chair, I feel that this is an insult to the committee, and it's an insult to the people of South Africa. Having said, Chair, I do agree with the input that is given by my colleagues, that the department be sent back and prepare themselves accordingly. The report that must be presented to the honorable members of parliament. The department should deal with matters of audit by indeed giving us the full information about those who have do wrong things in the department and what have they done about them to date. The other thing that, Chair, one will also ask the department to look into, we are asking them to make sure that they give us their monitoring and evaluation tools. In other words, we need to have a quality management systems of the department, which goes with policy and procedures on how they operate when they do their work. Because there is nothing that can help us to definitely get information that is the right information, who did what, if you don't have a monitoring tool. I used to ask, Chairperson, if you still remember, when I asked the department if they have what they call ISO, then I said to them, I'm calling it ISO in business language. But in the department, they were talking about the what standard. Tata Ramasoli one day said to me, they call it, I don't know, they call it something else. Does that thing work? That thing work that looks like an ISO? In bookkeeping language, they're talking about ISO because the ISO itself in booking language, it means that there is no person that can do a wrong things without identifying that person, because the letter will go from one person to another, and that letter will be signed who did what and when and what time. There is no department, Chairperson, that can operate without quality management system. Then you think you can do right. I think we need to agree that this department must give us their quality management system. Even us as the committee, if we have the quality management system, policy and their procedures, we'll be able to know where to touch. I therefore submit that my input is the input that support what the chairperson of the committee has said when he opens the meeting, and also Honorable Klape was also give input, and Honorable Matlatsi and Honorable Chete. They said a mouthful, including Honorable Steyn and them. All of us, we are saying they must go back and prepare themselves accordingly. If we don't take them back, we entertain them, they will say, Kebo Patricia, they're coming today, tomorrow they are going. Every day it will be a mistake on top of mistake. And now I think this is the 60th parliament. We need to work differently. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mahlo. Honorable Ntate Masipa.
Thank you, Chair. You know, it's always, you are always disadvantaged, you know, to speak last because all my honorable colleagues have said most of the things, so they have taken the limelight. But Chair, thank you very much. And to the department, I would like to say thank you, but you know, I agree with Honorable Matias saying that there is no report. Chair, we don't have a report. We have got a national data integrity disaster with this department. The AG has reported, quantified, explained everything in terms of their findings. The department failed on a very simple matter, just to give us data that support their argument as to why are they arguing against the AG's report. You know, one thing that really shock me and really worry me, Chair, is that we are putting out all this money, in billions out there trying to solve the problem. And money is not going to solve the problem unless we understand the numbers that we are dealing with. We understand the throughput, the impact that we are having. We don't know how many, of these farmers that were supported are on the livestock. How many hectares are they farming on? We don't really know which other commodities, were funded through these programs. Unless we solve this data integrity, Chair, I think we have got really a long way to go. So the presentation done is not a report, it's a presentation according to me. It's not objective, it's very subjective. So it doesn't really address the issue of the AG. The issues AG raised was very simple. There's 113 people employed by the state that have received the support from this program. What are you doing about it? How did this, slip through? Oh, we've got a verification system that we have got, but it's the response is not talking to this issue that the AG has indicated. Secondly, of really very significant concern is that 1,832 of those that received are receiving support from other government departments. They're receiving they're receiving the support from the food security and the land reform and restitution and so forth. Worst part is that the AG even go further to say that there is inadequate oversight from the department. And I think, Chair, I'm going back to the issue that we have raised back then, that the department, which is the Rural Development and Land Reform, the old one, cannot continue doing their work parallel to the local Department of Agriculture. And this is creating problems. And I'm saying this because some of the extension officers that I've spoken to with regards to these issues when they come up, is that they didn't even know that, who is this middleman that are, giving the, providing the supplies to the farmers. Further, they don't even know who are those farmers that are really receiving the vouchers in their own local area where this voucher system has been really supplied. So, Chair, I think that's really the concern for me. And I would really support my colleagues to say that we should not really accept this as a report. It's a presentation, maybe a warm-up presentation, and they're probably still working on a proper presentation. Once they have really addressed the issues that the AG has indicated, they can come to us and really with quantifiable stuff, with really stuff that have got substance, engage us properly. Chair, I think the questions, my colleagues covered me with the questions. The one item that I really want to also bring to the attention of this department is the Public Audit Amendment Act of 2018. The Amendment Act is very clear with the changes that it has got in place, is that the AG's work is now going to cover material irregularities, which includes fraud. I know that they indicated that there's no irregularities in this report, which include frauds, theft, breach of fiduciary duty, and non-compliance or contravention of the law that could result in material loss, misuse, or loss of material public resources. And we are seeing some of those elements emerging in this report. And it further says that once this material irregularities has been identified under the Public Audit Act of the Auditor-General, the Auditor-General may now refer this a suspected material irregularities to either the Public Protector or the SIU. And two, if the accounting officer or the accounting authority fails to implement the remedial action, including a directive to quantify or recover a financial loss, the AG must issue a certificate of debt in the name of the relevant accounting officer or accounting authority. So, Chair, I think going forward, maybe what we need to do, we need to really invite the Auditor General to come and really engage us with regards to their finding. But I just want to warn the department and obviously the minister in her absence that this action can be taken. Obviously, the Auditor General has got the power to take this action against the department or the accounting officer or even the DG, because we cannot carry on with the tick box exercise. Because what has been happening is that the department come here, tick the boxes and go away, and with the hope that 5 years come to an end, maybe and then we're not going to come back. There will be other guys, But we need to just make sure that the Auditor General release reports start to bite and bite quite heavily. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Masipa. I have saved the best for last, and that is an elder, Honorable Masipa. You are not the last, but let us now have Honorable Kapa. Velas Tembomko. Honorable Kapa. Honorable Kapa, are you still with us on the platform?
I think I was the last.
Which Honorable Kaba Slalo?
Honorable Kapa, I guess the elder has decided he will give the Devasipa the last bite. Honorable members, I enabled everyone to have their say on this so that the officials of the department, including the DG, as leading the delegation.
Am I audible?
Oh, Ntate Muntwedi. Yes, you are audible, Ntate.
Can I be
Please
that elder
proceed.
that you? Thank you very much, Chairperson. Chair, I fully concur with what fellow honorable members have said about the presentation, and want to also suggest, as Honorable Mahlatsi has said, that if we do not actually guide the process, we might end up getting the same presentation again, Chair. Now, Chair, I'm saying this because the Minister announced the suspension of the basic vouchers. And I can tell you from where I'm sitting that the basic voucher suspension was actually affected by how badly that COVID voucher system was actually ran. Where suppliers were actually reluctant to be part of the program, and end up with suppliers that charges our people more than 40%, taking all the money that is actually allocated to our people. Now, it's a pity, Chair, that the system of accountability in government first starts with the government department, and beneficiaries only come at a later stage. In the next year or so, we'll be hearing some beneficiaries complaining that they have since been approved of vouchers. Up until now, they've not received any inputs. I'm saying this, Chair, because there are some vouchers, there are some farmers who up until now have not received have not successfully managed to redeem their vouchers. Now, I want to check on the side of the department when they come. Can they actually give us an indication as to have all farmers redeemed their vouchers? I'm talking to you, Chair, knowing that there are some suppliers who refused to be part of the PESI because of outstanding payment that the department has still not yet done to them with regard to the previous COVID relief voucher that the department is actually before us about today. So it's a very serious concern, Chair. Can we get that indication from the how much was actually spent, were people paid? Because if suppliers are not paid, suppliers would not give inputs to farmers, because they're saying there's invoices that are still outstanding that have actually not been paid. Now, the last thing, Chair, is that when this program was introduced, the minister said that this application would actually assist on updating the farmer register. I'm not sure if, to what extent has the process assisted in updating the farmer register, of which I doubt, because I heard Mtate Masipa speaking about that number of hectares planted. What is it that the money was spent on? A category at least of how did actually our farmers spend the 50 or whatever money that was allocated to them through the voucher system. Thank you.
Re lebohile Ntate Montwedi. Honorable Kapa, last take. Are you there? Honorable Kapa.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, Chair, my device was disappointing me here. I'm sorry about that.
No worries, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Chair. The advantage of being the last is that you don't have to say everything because other things have been said. With the first one, where Honorable Kape had mentioned that one of the people from
Honorable Kapa,
this
try and switch
and
off the
my
video.
Okay. We didn't. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair. Is that how many of these people? And then furthermore, is that what mechanism is there now to make sure that this is not going to happen again? Because they will always be there. On the what the department, so, what is it? Number 4, where the department say they dispute this. What is it actually that they are disputing when it is said by the AG? And that dispute, has it been acceptable to AG South Africa? There's now on 15, that part of deviation where a lot is being said, but I would have expected that on this deviation, the moment one piece of deviation, it would have been said that on the basis of, or in terms of this section, this law, this paragraph, this deviation is being implemented. So it does not come after when it becomes explanation later. That concerns me because the deviation should have been justified from the very onset in the beginning. On response number 16, now, how would this happen? That these processes would continue and be implemented with invalid identity documents. Because I'm also suspecting that maybe this term ID is taken very lightly as not to be identity documents, something which is very serious in any country, in any activity. That's why you'll find in many cases that you are said you are required to attach a certified copy of your ID. Now, I'm really interested, how would this have happened with an invalid document? Is there no way of verification of the document in our system? Now, there's a loud explanation here that there is no more material findings after this. Is this a guarantee that work has been done? I don't understand this explanation that therefore after that there is no material finding, because these are the things which always happen, and especially that you also have something that is referred to as limitation of scope, which I understand that any accounting person would know that it is a key in the character of the audit report. Because whenever there is this, it is always the major element that contributes to the negative finding in the audit report. How would these officials not understand that limitation of scope would have effect or negative effect in this process? And now, lastly, I would like the department to comment, if they can, on these opinions that I have. That one, to me, they should have known that they are paid only for what they have done, not for what they have not done. For as a result, I think when there's reporting, even that column where it is proudly said that reasons for deviation or reasons for non-compliance, reasons for not succeeding in this and that, that column normally it's a necessary but undesirable. Undesirable because everybody is supposed to be working for compliance and achieving the best and 400%. Next, the last one. I would like also to have the opinion that you trust no person in finances, because that principle is the one I think that's why there are documents, there are papers, there are receipts, there are figures, there's everything. It's because you trust these mechanisms, not persons. If not, unless someone says, no, we are able to trust persons or individuals, but I would like to have an opinion on this. I thank you, Chair. And thank you for your patience when I was in disarray.
Thank you, Honorable Kapa. Honorable members, is there any other honorable member I've left out who may have wished to pose a question or comment? If none, honorable members have said a load full, and all attesting to the dissatisfaction that we as a committee have in the poor presentations that we continuously receive from the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. I would like to put it to the DG and Tate Ramasodi and the officials of the department that I do hope that these issues highlighted by the honorable members have been noted. We will therefore ask the Secretariat to have captured at best the inputs that have been made by the honorable members, so as to get a proper presentation that addresses the issues that have been raised by the Portfolio Committee on Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. It is in the best interest of the country that we ensure, honorable members, that we are able to hold the department accountable for the work that it does. And we are able to gain clarity in the issues that it brings before the committee. So we are happy that you've been able to raise your concerns in the dissatisfaction that we have towards the engagement that we repeatedly have with the department. DG and the officials, we will request that the Secretariat must reschedule this session for another time on our calendar, so that we are able to visit these engagements again and have a proper presentations on the issues that have been raised by the Auditor-General. That is all that we've had, honorable members, for today. We will therefore rely from the Secretariat to be able to find an appropriate time within the next 2 weeks. If the officials and the DG of the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development can ensure that they prepare a comprehensive report on the issues raised and come back before the committee on the 22nd of March. We will speak to the Secretariat to ensure that we are able to shift the program to make a room so that we are able to have this done as best as we can. If the Secretariat Mamukakaza and Manyamza can take note that within the next 2 weeks we would like to revisit this and be able to have a proper engagement with the department. And that would therefore, honorable members, bring us to the end of our session, as there will not be any responses in terms of the concerns raised by the honorable members. We will then reconvene in 2 weeks on this matter. With that said, please have a wonderful day ahead. The plenary will resume or continue at 2 o'clock in the National Assembly. So do please log in early for those that will be joining through hybrid. And for those that will be attending in person, all the best with the day's proceedings. Have a great week ahead. The meeting stands adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you,
Recording
Chairperson.
stopped.
Long live Chairperson.
Danke, Siabo.
Danke.
Leboha modulasetulo.
Mr. Matthias, how are you? Tate Matthias.